Welcome to another episode of After the Poll. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. This is the video series where I take 5 of some of my most highly anticipated comics for the week and I see if they live up to the hype. Now, if you guys want to check out my full review on all the comics that I picked up for the week, check out my rapid fire recap show that takes place every Sunday. So without further ado, everyone, let's get started with Nightwing issue 97 takes that 5th spot as of right now. I wanted to highlight this book this week because this is the beginning of a new story arc. Tom Taylor has been telling the same story for issues now, and it has to deal with Blockbuster being in control of Bloodhaven. He is the mayor, and Bloodhaven is corrupt. However, at the end of the last issue, we got to see Heartless take care of Blockbuster, so Blockbuster is no longer around, and that is confirmed in this actual issue. Tom Taylor does a pretty good job at this book. However, it's very decompressed. Bruno Redondo's artwork is really good, man. I mean, it's a standout here. All the action scenes look great. And here we get to see in the opening page, yeah, it's confirmed, man. Blockbuster is dead. So as the issue progresses, we get to see the police now question Maroni, as he was the one in control of all of Blockbuster's like hidden accounts and stuff like that, and basically he's been gathering evidence. So he is a pretty important character when it comes to everything that's been going on in Bloodhaven. Now what's going to happen is, to protect Maroni from getting killed, they have to put him in like a witness protection program. And what the police department does is they wind up hiring Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon to protect him. And we get to see that in this issue. It was actually kind of cool, as you get to see Maroni in this armored car and it's driving down the road, and you get to see this rig knock him off the road, which is awesome too. And you get to see Dick Grayson trying to, you know, protect Maroni, and it's quite a little interesting time here. There is some downtime as they escape the people trying to kill him, go into one of Batman's like super safe houses, and they tranquilize Maroni, and they have to stay hidden there for a few days until the heat lies low. And it gives an opportunity for Dick and Barbara to connect, establish the relationship for say. And Barbara is kind of burnt out of everything too, so she needed some time off. So I think her hooking up with Dick Grayson was, you know, something that she needed, right? So pretty cool issue. And as the next morning happens, there's somebody that shows up in front of this safe house. How? You don't quite know. There's no roads, there's no indication that there's a place that exists. So what's inside this taxi? Well, none other, I shit you not, it's Rick Grayson. Are we really going there? Who is this character? Who is this imposter? Because Rick Grayson was Dick Grayson. So I don't know what's going on here. Could this be a magic thing? I don't know. We'll see what happens. This definitely made it for a very interesting story thread and pushing this book forward. Taking the number 4 spot goes to 10,000 Black Feathers issues 1 and 2. Now, I missed out on issue 1 because I didn't realize who wrote it and who illustrated it, and I'm a fan of this creative team of Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. I followed these two ever since they did that Green Arrow series together, and I've been reading stuff from them ever since. Now, this is from their universe called the Black Orchard Mythos, which I heard there was a trade that came out before this release. Now, when I opened up this book, I did feel a little bit lost. I don't know if that has to do with that trade or it's just the way this story is being told, but if I need to read that trade to understand this universe a little bit better, let me know in the comments below. But these two books together were really well done, as we get to learn a little bit about these two childhood friends that have written this fantasy story or like game, and their name I think is Trish, and this one is Jacqueline, otherwise known as Jackie. and we get thrown into this world as something obviously has happened to one of the main characters, which is Jacqueline, which is introduced in the beginning of the first issue, and then I think it revisits it at the end of the second issue. You get to see them meet each other when they were childhood friends. Something has brought Trish back to the town where she grew up and whatnot, and again, you just get to see the friendship that was born and how they have this common love of like fantasy and novels and all that types of great stuff. So that was really cool. And then in the second issue, where we have here is we get to see the girls as they start to become teenagers and things start to get in the way, and Jacqueline is the girl that kind of wants to hang out with her friends, wants to go out and do parties, while Trish is the one that's still, you know, keeping up with the game. Now the storytelling is quite interesting here as they're creating this story. You get to actually see this happen as if they were in this real world fighting these demons and monsters and things like that. But there is an event that has happened in some kind of period that has to do with this crazy creature that I think maybe either took them to another realm and killed Jacqueline. I'm not 100% sure. I just feel like I have so many questions and I don't know what to expect here going forward. But you find out that, again, the girl was abducted. That's what they think, but she's somewhere else out there, man. So yeah, I have a lot of questions, like, who are these girls? Did they actually go through a realm? Did they interact with this dark being? Is this dark being responsible for Jacqueline being captured or killed? Like, what is going on? And again, do I have to read that trade to understand what's happening in this universe? Again, guys, leave me all that stuff in the comments below. But if you're looking for something different, I definitely say pick up these two. This is still first print, and this is the second issue that came out this comic book week. Hitting that 3 spot, we got Deceased War of the Undead Gods, issue 3 of 6. This book doesn't disappoint, but after what happened in issue number 2, it definitely did not live up to that book. This book did have some moments, but again, it just wasn't as strong, and I felt like the storytelling in this series is a little bit jumpy, right? It just feels like in the first issue we got things that seemed to be happy-go-lucky, and then in the second issue things started going wrong, extremely wrong, and now this issue we're dealing with a funeral, and we get introduced to Lobo in this book, and then Adam Strange is in this book, so it's a little bit all over the place. However, I did still enjoy it because of just things that happen in it. You know, it just makes you be like, oh my god, this is so gruesome and whatnot. But this one wasn't as much as a jaw dropper. So in this book you get introduced to Adam Strange, how everything is starting to go wrong in the universe when it comes to this anti-life equation situation. His teleportation device that takes some places doesn't work properly, so he winds up leaving his family, and he winds up, I think it was like in Gotham or whatnot, and the next thing you wind up seeing is he comes across a freaking deceased Wonder Woman, and she puts a freaking hole right through his chest, and that's the way the book opens up, and you're like, dude, I love that. That's so intense. But he made his way back to his family as a zombie, and just when his family was like, oh, we're so happy to see you, he like kills his family, but you don't actually see it. You just know that it actually happens. So I took away a little bit of the you know, the edge off the book, because you don't want to see his family get murdered. And then next you wind up getting introduced to Lobo, and this could be foreshadowing of what's to come when it comes to someone saving our heroes from this DC's life equation, because in this book you wind up seeing Lobo fight off the zombies here, and he literally gets scratched, which means he cannot get turned. So if he's immune to this disease, then that is what's going to make him the savior here. So pay attention to that. But the scenes taking care of all the other zombies in here was actually quite awesome too. But then it jumps around to another story thread where we go to Wonder Woman's funeral. as this is kind of going along the same time as when Darkseid took over Warworld, and our heroes haven't known that yet. So this is right before those events. So we get to see our heroes mourning Wonder Woman and the loss of her. Ares comes, the god of war, and warns them of this great war that's going to happen. They get the emergency call, and here it is, the war is going to start. And that was basically the issue. And then we got something with this this Erebos book thing, which I have no idea what that's about. But yeah, so this book was okay. It just felt like I was reading just like little mini stories in this comic book. It didn't feel like one cohesive story, and that was kind of my issue with it. But it was still an entertaining read, and it just didn't live up to that second issue, man. But still good. And then we'll see what happens with Lobo. Again, my prediction is he's going to be the savior here. Coming in at number 2, and I think this was number 2 last time it came out, when it was the debut of the first issue, and this one goes to Midnight Suns. This is issue 2. Really great book, man. I love the way this book is structured. I love the pacing, the action, and the storytelling in this book. This one's written by Ethan Sachs. I think he pretty much gets the characters here. Doom makes a significant appearance in this book, and I feel like this is more of a Doom that we're familiar with, how he is not an easy foe to take down. I know a lot of people were talking about the series right now, Strange, where Clea just made a joke out of Dr. Doom and he left. And it's kind of funny because he does make his return and he does meet up with her once again in this book. But the way this one opens up, it has to deal with Agatha Harkness in here telling a story of what happened in the past and how she's going to protect Zoe from this apocalypse. Now, this apocalypse is happening to all magic heroes or villains out there, so they're all going to be affected by it. The only people that can see it is them. However, if you do not have magic, then you're going to die. So it's a quite interesting apocalypse that's going to happen, and so it brings upon our team. Now, Dr. Doom makes his appearance in this book because he wants Zoe, and he wants answers, and he wants to solve this apocalyptic situation, but he has to go through this Midnight Suns team. And again, this whole battle is actually pretty good. We get to see a bunch of Doombots make their appearance here, and our Midnight Suns team cannot take out Dr. Doom, especially individually. So they have to come up with a strategic plan on the way to take him out. And I thought that was really good on Ethan Sachs' part. It's not just like, hey, let's just battle. They're like talking with each other, strategizing with each other. I like that battle plan. And then in the meantime, with all that action, you get this whole story here that's going on with Agatha and this person that's behind this apocalypse thing and whatnot. But the thing that makes the difference here is just the teamwork of all the Midnight Suns that help get the upper edge on Doom. However, even when they gained the upper edge, it still looked like Doom was going to prevail. But who makes their appearance in this issue? Well, once again, it's Clea. And with Clea making her appearance, it definitely sets up the chessboard once again in order for our heroes to probably strategically win with her on the board. So I thought that was kind of cool. All his Doombots are destroyed, and so what happens is it's forced Dr. Doom to actually retreat. And now Clea and the rest of our heroes here have to work together to try to find out what's happening. But Clea's a little bitch, and then what happens is she sits there and puts all the other heroes in the dark realm because she wants to solve this problem on her own. I was like, oh man, that sucks. And so our heroes now are stuck in the dark realm, where she, of course, is the Sorcerer Supreme of, as well as regular Sorcerer Supreme. And I thought that was a kind of a cool little story there. But I love the overall book. I love the pacing, the action, just a fun read. If you guys can get your hands on issue 1, I definitely recommend it. It remains number 1 once again. This goes to World's Finest, issue 8, the best DC book that DC has to offer right now. Such a wonderful told story. I wish all DC books were like this. And I know I say that all the time, but this is great. We get introduced to the new dynamic duo. We got David, who is, I think they call him the Boy Thunder, kind of making fun of the Boy Wonder. And then you got Superman teaming up in this book. And it was really good, just from opening to end. I mean, you get to see David teaming up with the Teen Titans here, and you just get to see characters that we have not seen in such a long time in just DC Comics in general. And I feel like we're getting all of that in just this series alone. And there's a character that makes his appearance in here later on in the book, and that I will show you, where you're like, dude, that's freaking sweet, right? So you get to see all these character interactions. They come up with the name for David, which his name is the Boy Thunder, and they kind of make fun of him for that, which is kind of funny. And what happens is we get to see David actually start to gain his powers, because he's like Superman, right? He comes from a planet like Krypton. He came to Earth, and the Earth's suns give him powers. So it's like at one point I'm sitting there going, you know what? When is this kid gonna flip the script and become evil and take abuse of his powers? You know, but you don't see that quite yet. But there's something wrong with this kid, and Supergirl actually points that out in this issue, right? She's like, there's something off about this boy. Meanwhile, the bad guy, the villain in this book, is the Key. So he's trapping all these people in elevators and coal mines and all these things. And so our heroes are stretched thin to try to save all these people in time before they die. So it's a very fast-paced, action-heavy type of book. You get to see Batman and you get to see Tim work together. And in order to, or is it Tim? I always forget. Is it Tim Drake or is it Dick in this book? You guys let me know in the comments below. But you always see these guys working together, trying to save the day, trying to guide Superman in the right direction. Meanwhile, there's people stuck in a coal mine. And again, the supers are spread so thin that David is going on his first rescue mission. And he has to try to save all these people in this coal mine. The switch is broken, so he has to use his heat powers in order to open the door and get these people out. However, there's methane gas in there, and if his heat powers get too hot, that methane gas is going to kill all those people in there. So when he tries to start using his powers, what happens is he starts freaking out. He has a panic attack because he has these flashbacks of what happened on his home planet, and he takes off, and he has to take a minute to reflect on what's going on. So at that point in time, Superman is called to try to get to those people in time, but David has a change of heart. He does rescue those people. He completes his first mission, and it was actually really cool. The Key winds up escaping. Ted Kord, the Blue Beetle, winds up showing up to help them out as well, to fix things up. It was so cool to see that. And then you get a nice little conversation between Kara and David about how Kara was an outcast as well, how her city was destroyed. She's been through the situations that he's been through, and if she needs someone to talk to, go ahead and talk to her, right? But you know, she said, it wasn't your fault why your planet exploded. And he's like, yeah. And you see this one little panel right here where it's like he's holding his head and his parents are kind of like, what did you do? Did he press the red button, you know, the self-destruct button, and cause his planet to blow up? Oh my God, that's a story for another issue, but I can't wait. This book, by far, so far, out of the 5 books that I read this week, is definitely the best book. Let's see if it holds on to that #1 spot. And the books that World's Finest is still up against is Deadly Neighborhood Spider-Man Issue 1, which I'm going to do a full review on Friday with my Spider-Man Weekly series. Predator Issue 3. X-Men Issue 16. Can R.L. Stine take that #1 spot? Stuff of Nightmares Issue 1. We have Thor Issue 28. Gunslinger Issue 13 is always a strong contender. Carnage Issue 7 has been on the rise lately. We have Crypt of Shadows Issue 1. So those are all the books. We'll see what happens. And of course, guys, if you like this video and you want to check out everything I picked up for New Comic Book Day, I'm going to leave you my New Comic Book Day haul. And of course, guys, always remember, keep buying, keep collecting, but most importantly, always read your comics. Guys, thank you so much and enjoy your week.